Welcome to another week of WSN NFL Picks. My name is Adam Forsyth, joined as always by Ryan Sullivan. Thank you for joining us this week. You know, it's been another fantastic week of NFL action, Ryan.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a fantastic week, capped off by a fantastic Monday Night Football matchup, which there's so many times, and we called it, to round out last week's show, this is going to be the game of the year. And 9 times out of 10, when you say this is the game to watch, it turns out to be a total dud. But man, that lived up to the billing. Great way to round out week 10.
Unbelievable game. OT on a Monday. You can't beat it. So how this show works, we are going to look back at last week's picks, tell you how we did, our best bets, our things that hit, and of course, we got to keep ourselves honest. So we'll own up to our mistakes and give you a few of our clunkers from last week. And then we'll look ahead at week 11's NFL games. We're going to break down each and every one, the current spread, the over-under, some prop bets we like, things we're going to stay away from. And then we'll let you be the judge. If you get all this coverage and more, WSN.com, tons of betting guides for beginners and anyone really wanting to learn more about strategy and how sports betting works. And we'll be your guide for the next 40 minutes or so, and we'll take you on a journey. So let's get into it, Ryan. Last week, you had a very good week with your best bet.
I did. And writing was on the wall in this one before the entire season kicked off. But Baltimore to cover with ease against the Bengals. They did so, putting up a huge number on the board there. Lamar Jackson, this guy is in the MVP conversation. Mind you, Wilson looked fantastic. It's going to come down to those two guys for the top spot there. But Baltimore looked fantastic. The Bengals, Ryan Finley, rookie quarterback. Really baptism by fire for this unfortunate kid. Threw a pick.
Who we thought he was.
Yeah, lost a fumble, threw a pick, sacked twice. Not a great day. However, a better fantasy performance than Drew Brees. So, Hall of Famer. He's got that little feather to put in his cap. But there you go. That was my best bet. My best prop that hit. Once again, Jamison Crowder finding the end zone.
It's been money for you.
Yeah, man. Every time the ball's in this guy's hands, good things happen. The Jets, with that win, probably going to lose a few spots in the draft. However, they do get New York supremacy for at least another year. So that's a big one right there. My biggest miss, the New Orleans Saints. I think everybody and their father and their sister and their cousin and the guy who lives down the street got this one wrong. The Saints, 7-1 going to this game. The Falcons 1-7, and the Falcons show up like a Super Bowl contender out of nowhere. So that was an ugly one. And the best bet this week, we'll roll into that right away. Raiders over Cincinnati. It's a 9-point spread. Oakland's at home. And as we saw last week, the Chargers, by all means, probably should have come back in the final 2 minutes of that game. We'll get to that a little bit later. But no, Oakland looks pretty deadly right now. And it looks like they could really compete for top spot with that Kansas loss.
All right, there it is. Ryan's best bet of the week. Let's recap what I did last week. And it was not so good for me. The Saints to cover against Atlanta, and Ryan, all good things must come to an end, buddy, because my winning streak has been snapped. That was a rough game, as you just touched on.
Yeah.
The Saints' worst effort of the season. Drew Brees threw the ball 45 times, and it didn't really matter. The run game was non-existent. It ended, my winning streak ended a lot of people's survivor seasons. Unfortunately, that was my best bet. I'll do better this week, guys. I'll redeem myself, I promise. Best prop bets that hit. I was like you on this Ravens train. I should have taken that for my best bet of the week because I was all over it. I had Lamar Jackson on the over rush yards to score a rushing touchdown, and it wasn't all too surprising, but I also had Ryan Finley to throw an interception. That one good. Also, yeah. I once again skipped to the ponies, Ryan, or more like galloped, as I had money on Michael Gallup to get a touchdown in that Cowboys Sunday night.
We started with the puns. We're a few minutes into the show.
I'm just so happy I had some good prop bets.
Ease the audience in, then hit them with the puns.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. My biggest miss, I don't want to relive it because it was only moments ago, but yeah, I had the Saints to win, to cover. That did not happen. So redemption this week. My best bet of the week. I regretted not taking them last week. I won't make the same mistake twice. I am hopping on the Ravens bandwagon. They're red hot. I like them to cover at home against the Texans. Currently favored by 4 points, and the way that Jackson's moving the ball, even if it really turns into a shootout, I think the Ravens will fly to a win. Oh, it's Pun City, baby!
Oh, God.
All right. For our listeners listening in New Jersey or watching in New Jersey or West Virginia, go to WSN.com for special bonuses and deals. If you want to bet on this week's games, you can compare the best legal online sportsbooks and get exclusive offers when you sign up and start betting. Which brings us to Week 11 of the NFL. The Thursday night game is the Steelers at the Browns. Cleveland favored by 2.5, and the over-under is set at 41.5 points. And Ryan, nothing, and I mean nothing, gets me fired up like a Thursday divisional game. Thursday divisional games? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, this one's got a clunker written all over it.
Yes.
The Steelers, they're quickly learning, like, if they want to win, they got to just do it dirty. Like, they're limiting their mistakes. They're not really putting up points, but they're limiting the other team's chances. It's kind of like, hey, let's just get some field goals on the board. Like, how is this team above 500? It's very confusing to me, and it's even more confusing that a wild card spot, like, isn't necessarily out of the cards for them. Both teams obviously want to win, but they don't care if it's boring and it puts you to sleep. Like, that's how they're going to roll. So I'm avoiding the spread on this one. I don't really understand where this game's going to go. However, the trends have convinced me that if I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to bet on the under, as the Steelers have gone under in 8 of their last 9 on the road. Cleveland has hit under in 5 of their last 6 at home against Pittsburgh. So there we go. I'm going under, and I'm nowhere near the spread. I don't know who's going to win this game.
Very interesting. Now, I'm kind of in a similar capacity here. I don't know which way to go with this game either. Two pretty brutal teams going at it. Still somehow both of which are in a wild card conversation. I guess because, yours pretty much just over half old. But nonetheless, the Cleveland Browns were irrelevant weeks ago. Somehow they've fought and clawed their way back to some tiny little bit of relevancy. People are getting off of Baker Mayfield's back just slightly.
Bills.
Yeah,
cool.
Hey man, yeah, Bills have been all right. That's a big win for him. But nonetheless, I the way that we're different here is that I like the over in this game. And I know both these teams haven't been putting up huge scores on the board, but both their defenses are pretty brutal. We've seen constantly, they just cannot shut down big plays in the clutch. And I think that the offense, the Cleveland Browns, I think it's going to capitalize on this one. So I kind of give the Browns a slight edge. Obviously, the point spread does as well, but I'm with you. I'm not going with either team here. I'm just looking at that over-under spread, 41.5. That's not that big. I believe in the Browns to kind of edge it out. Don't believe in them enough to put down a wager there. However, on the over, I dig it. I'm going with it.
I like the disagreement, though, the over-under. Are you not concerned, like, the Pittsburgh's defense that is so horrible, they didn't give up an offensive touchdown to the Rams last week?
Yeah, but the Rams were brutal. The Rams did not show up whatsoever in that game. Jared Goff was awful. They brought in Blake Bortles at one point. If you're going to the bench for Blake Bortles, and I've got to say it like that just to emphasize, things are not going your way. Todd Gurley was shut down in the fourth quarter. He was still on the field. They didn't use him once. It was just like it was an ugly game all around for the Rams. So I do not believe in that Pittsburgh team. The total has gone over in 4 of Cleveland's last 5 games when playing Pittsburgh. Usually in this division, when 2 teams match up, usually the scoreboard gets a little heavy, and I see it doing that on Thursday night.
Don't you try to out-trend my trends.
I'll out-trend those trends.
All right, that's the Thursday game. We got the Sunday slate. It's a very busy one. We'll start with the morning games, and up first is Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina favored by 7 right now, and the over-under is a big one, 52 points.
Yeah, I do like how they've given Allen there in Carolina a little bit more confidence, shutting down Cam Newton for the year. I really like seeing that and saying that they're probably not going to go back to Cam. He's probably walking in the offseason. So that's good to see on their side. Atlanta right now is as hot as they have ever been.
The Dirty Bird. In
the last 2 years. They showed up big time. Obviously, Coach Quinn pretty fired up on those sidelines. He gets to stay employed for at least another week. But when you drop New Orleans in the Big Easy, that gives you some momentum, no question. So in this game, I do like Carolina on the money. I like Atlanta on the spread. I do not like -7. I don't see that happening. It doesn't matter where they're playing, even though they're at home. So I like to see Atlanta come back. I like to see them keep it tight. But yeah, Carolina definitely is the obvious choice here.
Both teams massive up and downs all season. It's like, and that makes them really hard to bet on and predict, because you can kind of get the almost Jekyll and Hyde situation of it. You just don't know where they're going to go. Atlanta, as you mentioned, coming off the big win, and they like playing in Carolina. They have gone 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 when visiting Carolina. So that alone, you know what? Why don't we kick off the weekend games? I like the bold pick. I'm going to go with Atlanta on the money line.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. No, it's not even more shock. I thought that would be the hot take of the week.
No, I think you're trying to out-trend my trend. I get it. No problem.
Well, so money line, that's just a very bold, let's go for it. But one I really like is Austin Hooper quietly putting together a fantastic season. The Panthers don't allow a ton of yardage to tight ends.
Hooper might be out in this one. He got dinged up last game.
Yeah, that's what they want you to think.
Wouldn't be the first time they did that.
Exactly. Yeah. If he plays, he's only getting 2 or 3 targets a game. Perfect for a guy who's a little dinged up. Find him in the end zone and just a red zone target. I like a touchdown prop for Austin Hooper. Let's keep things rolling. Our next game, we have the Cowboys up against the Lions. It is in Michigan. Dallas favored by 3. Over-under set at 51.5. Ryan, of all the Sunday games, the line on this one at least really jumped off to me the quickest. It's just when you do the casual, I'm heading on to WSN.com. Here's the casual glance at games. Why are the Cowboys only favored by 3 in this one? It's a little confusing to me. I really like in this game, especially with the Lions quarterback situation like very much up in the air. I like Dak Prescott to take to the air in this one. He has Michael Gallup, who I mentioned earlier. Love me some ponies. And Amari Cooper both hauling in touchdowns last week. They could very easily do it again and duplicate their success this week. And even if the Lions are forced to turn to Jeff Driscoll and try to claw their way to a win, the over very much in play as these two teams have hit the over in 7 of their last 8 meetings.
Now, I did want to throw this out there, but you were on a roll, so I didn't want to jump in. Since we started this show, the spread has increased. It's now minus 3.5. So nothing changing too much.
But that shows that I am on the right track.
Yeah, but that shows where the trend is going. Because if you can get in on this spread right now, move it.
Yeah.
Get moving right now because it looks like Matty Stafford's not playing in this one. He's got the Mike Tyson spinal injury going on there. And it's the worst possible timing because that offense was really starting to come together since Kerryon Johnson hit the IR. He's really been starting to find some hands out there, whether it be Amendola, Marvin Jones. Kenny Golladay is just having an incredible season. You know, they've been looking sharp across the board. So to lose him, kind of a death sentence for that team. And, you know, if Driscoll was named starter right now already, that spread would be very different. And all signs are indicating that's going to be the case this Sunday. So if you can pounce on that spread, get on that. Because, yeah, I'm with Dallas to cover. I'm with Dallas to win. No question here in Detroit and Ford Field.
All right, let's keep things rolling. Our next game is Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Indy currently favored by 3 points. The over-under is set at 44. Ryan, what do you make of this game?
Well, I mean, it's very similar to the Lions game in that, I mean, they're dealt a major blow losing Matty Stafford. Indianapolis, a huge blow losing Jacoby Brissett. Brian Hoyer came in 2 weeks ago, and people were like, oh, just threw 3 touchdowns. Who's this Brian, this new and improved Hoyer here? Nothing's new and improved. We saw Brian Hoyer last week.
Did I do a quick jump in? Yeah, I would never have said it on this video podcast, but I played Brian Hoyer in Daily Fantasy on the weekend as kind of like, hey, why don't you just take my money?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a little sneaky play. It was a disaster.
Yes.
I think he almost got minus points.
He was god awful last week. And if Brissett misses another one here, that's a big one. I mean, that's really the deciding factor in this game. Jacoby Brissett, if he dresses and he's healthy, obviously Indianapolis at home looks pretty damn sharp. But Jacksonville, I mean, I'm excited. This is Nick Foles' comeback time. I've been waiting all season for this. And if you're looking at props right now, this is a bit of a random one, but should Nick Foles dress, and all signs are pointing to him, suiting up for this one and getting the start, look for Chris Conley. I'm going to say on the reception prop. I mean, now Conley didn't jive as much with Gardner Minshew, but the huge story out of Jacksonville training camp was the connection between Foles and Conley out of the preseason. People were all over Conley, and then he kind of vanished a little bit because Uncle Rico wasn't finding him out there. However, with Foles under the center, I see Conley getting a lot of touches out there, and given that he's like not the first, I think he's probably going into this game as the third string receiver, that reception count's going to be pretty low. Take the over on that. But I like Jacksonville all the way with Jacoby Brissett. Throw that asterisk out there. No Jacoby Brissett, take Jacksonville.
We disagree a lot on this.
Okay.
But I completely agree with everything you just said.
Okay. I
don't like to say you're a smart man, but you are a smart man. I love that Conley pick. It's flying under the radar, and it is out there for you to grab. And I'll join you on the hype train for that one. As for the game itself, again, just like you mentioned, it is all Jacoby Brissett dependent. And last week it was looking like he might go until he was a later scratch in the week. It's just too hard to tell at this point. And after watching Hoyer's performance on Sunday, if you feel comfortable with Hoyer getting the start, take Jacksonville in the points right now. And the Jags really enjoying their success against Indy in the past. A 7-0-1 record against the spread against Indy in their last 8 games. So history is on the side of Jacksonville for this one. again, it is all very much dependent who gets the start, Hoyer or Brissett.
Yeah. If Hoyer's starting, I'm more comfortable buying Merrill Lynch stock than I am Indianapolis Colts stock.
That's a deep reference I don't understand.
The crash. Come on. Yes. Okay, let's move on.
All right.
We'll keep this strictly football from now on. No more outside references.
Tune into Ryan's other podcast where he talks about stock market moves from 2008.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep this ball rolling. That makes sense too. The next game is Buffalo at Miami. Buffalo is currently favored by 7.5 points. The over-under, Ryan, is 39. Miami, unbelievable. One of the hottest teams in the NFL over the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Who would have thought that was actually an English sentence that I would formulate even a month ago. The Bills are really struggling too. They bad loss to the Browns. That game was up in the air. Having this spread be above a touchdown for me is a little bit too much for my liking. 7.5, maybe it was 7. I would a little frisky with it. I don't know why this week I'm just feeling a little riskier than normal. I made a couple of bold moves earlier in the show. I'm going back to the Dolphins. I mean, somehow Miami is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. Why not make it 6 on Sunday?
Oh, wow. That camera is the one you were on there. Yeah, there it is. I'm with you a little bit here. I mean, I think Miami looks great in the month of November. They are November soldiers out there. They look fantastic. However, I don't see them continuing that trend in this game. I'm with you on the spread. 7.5 points, that's a lot for a Buffalo Bills team that's looked pretty shaky the last few weeks. Also going into enemy territory where, who are we kidding? Probably 40% of the fans in that stadium will be Bills fans, but nonetheless, I don't see them covering that spread. So I see Miami to cover. I like Buffalo to win. And with this one, I mean, I've been going the last few weeks on the same prop. I've been, playing the Cole Beasley train for receptions and for touchdowns. He had touchdowns in a few weeks in a row. Did not get one last week, so I went 1 for 2 on those props. But I do like Beasley to see some more of the pigskin out there. The Allen to Beasley connection has just been fantastic for me the last few weeks. And also, I'm not going near prop country on this one, but I do see the Bills starting to get their money's worth out of Tyler Kroft, the tight end. I think he's going to be fed a few times in this game as well.
Is he a low budget, decent play in daily fantasy? Because you could get him to round out your roster.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. In DFS, I think it's still a decent play, but the Bills, for a tight end, I would just steer clear completely. I think Kroft will see a few targets in this game, which is up from the 1 or 2 that he's seen the last few weeks. However, they still got Dawson Knox there, so it's kind of a tight end by committee over there.
I think it's one of those situations if you just max out your roster with stars and you need to fill it out with a cheap option. There you go.
If it's a cheap play, yeah, roll the dice, absolutely.
Real money daily fantasy sports, a great option for people living in a state where traditional sports betting is not legal. Head to WSN.com. They can set you up with a link to DraftKings and FanDuel. Ryan, what do we got for our next game?
We got Houston at Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 4 points. The over-under set at 49. This, my friend, should, by all counts, be the game of the week. Houston coming off a bye. They're going to be well-rested. Baltimore coming off a few amazing wins, of course, against New England a couple weeks ago. That was absolutely huge, taking them out by 17 points. And then last week, it's not as huge, not as remarkable, dominating the Cincinnati Bengals, but still a complete annihilation that just feeds the ego, feeds the confidence. Now they're back at home again. This is going to be a huge one. They posted 49 points last week. I see him putting up a huge scoreboard again, so keep an eye on that over-under, especially the over. Put that one in bold. And Houston, they might have some more weapons in this game. It looks like Will Fuller V will be back in the lineup, which is good for them. But coming off a bye, those byes, they can be bittersweet sometimes. Sometimes they can really work for you. Sometimes they can work against you. And Houston did have some momentum going into it. I don't know if they're going to have it coming out, and especially first game against Baltimore, that's a tough test. I like Baltimore to win, and right now with a small point spread of 4 points, I like Baltimore to cover.
Any Fuller, he'd be the 6th.
That was actually really good, but let's move on.
Good, right? I thought that was on the fly.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I'm proud of myself. I mentioned off my top, this is my best bet of the week. I really like the Ravens to cover at home. Baltimore showing no signs of slowing down. Team's red hot, and when a team's red hot like that, I will gladly ride the Ravens' coattails if it pads my best bet stats. Lamar Jackson playing like a man possessed. You mentioned it off the very top when you were recapping last week, how it's kind of Lamar Jackson versus Russell Wilson in the MVP race right now. Both are playing amazing. And I like Jackson to continue the trend of me cashing in on prop bets on him. I hit it last week over on rushing yards, him to get a rushing touchdown. The one thing I'm going to caution people about, though, because I am hyping up the Ravens a lot, is last week, the tight end, Mark Andrews, couple of touchdowns. Houston's, they don't give up yards to tight ends. They're one of the best in the league at defending it. So I'm kind of looking at Andrews having inflated numbers as a prop bet, and I'll take under on Andrews on the receiving yards.
Wow, okay. You know, speaking of Russell Wilson, I just want to throw this out there. If they do get a chance to play another ESPN game and you can take the over in Booger McFarland saying that Russell Wilson's the best player in our league, take the over and put a lot of money on it.
Well, that's free money.
Just the whole night. Wilson scrambled. He's the best player in our league. Sorry, keep going. Just had to get that off my chest.
I appreciate it. Let's keep things going with another big showdown and another big spread. It is Denver at Minnesota. Minnesota currently favored by 10 points. The over-under is 38.5. And Ryan, that line shows me a couple of things. A double-digit spread and an over-under in the 30s. The odds makers really expecting the Broncos to score in the single digits, essentially, next to no points. And I'm not exactly too sure on that one. I mean, they're coming off a bye. Rookie quarterback Brandon Allen, plenty of time to kind of prep for the Vikings, get ready for what is, further into his career. He was thrown to the Wolves in week number 1 of his season. So they're still heavy underdogs, but you know what? As I said, this week, I don't know, there's something in the air. I'm just feeling a little bit like, let's take some underdogs. Let's roll the dice. I think it's a letdown game for Minnesota after that emotional win over Dallas under the lights of prime time. I like the Broncos to cover this game, and if you want to dabble on the props, look for Cortland Sutton to hit the over on receptions.
Oh, very nice. There you go. I like that. Big fan of Cortland. In this game, obviously, I mean, you like Minnesota. I like Minnesota. The 10-point spread, I know that seems hefty. I think against a team like Denver, that's no problem. We've seen their defense at work, and it's not the greatest. However, I think that Broncos fans are actually starting to tune in to watch football again with Brandon Allen back there. He's got a very short window to impress before Drew Lock gets healthy, because, I mean, obviously that guy is the future, given where they took him in the draft. But with Joe Flacco gone, I think Broncos fans just ended up turning off this season. They thought it ended really quickly. But Brandon Allen's actually, his legs are moving a little bit. They haven't had a mobile quarterback there in years. He doesn't have a hell of a lot to work with. So, of course, Sutton's really the only guy that can catch a football there, or Noah Fant. Like him at tight end. There's a cheap one for daily fantasy. Absolutely. Right there.
That's a good call.
Not too shabby. But no, I think he's shown some flashes here and there. I think he's going to show a few more in this game. Playing in a dome setting, it just seems to usually work a little bit better for these quarterbacks. But this is, with Adam Thielen probably coming back as well, this is Minnesota written all over it.
All right. Head to WSN.com for state-by-state guides to find out if sports betting is legal where you live and when you can expect it to become legal. Let's keep the Sunday slate going. Ryan, what do we have for our next game?
We have the Jets taking on the Washington Redskins. Washington favored by 2 points, over-under set at 37.5. The Jets actually looked like a football team last week.
They jetted to a win.
Yeah, the Jets looked like they belong in the National Football League last week. Sam Darnold looked solid as ever. Maybe his best game as a Jet, to be honest. Most impressive anyways. Lev Bell had a decent day. Demarius led the team in receiving. Well, Jamison Crowder once again doing his Jamison Crowder thing. A bunch of catches. Another touchdown on the board. On his game all day long. With that said, I love the Jets in this game, even though they are on the road. Reason being, though, even though Washington will welcome back Darius Geis, it looks like in this game, that team is just, they're on all sorts of different pages right now. And I do like how they finally said, hey, Dwayne, okay, the ball is yours for the rest of the season. You're our quarterback. Give the kid a little bit of confidence. But man, it is some shattered confidence that they need to clean up in a hurry. They just threw that kid into the absolute wolves, and now they're just watching the residual effects. And yeah, that team is just all over the place. I don't like Washington, not only in this game, for the rest of the season. I don't know if I'm going to pick the Redskins again. I like the Jets to win, and with a 2-point spread, I like the Jets to cover.
I agree with you completely that turning the ball over to this young QB, that at least there's like a glimmer of hope down the line for Washington fans. Like, give this kid a chance. It's going to give him confidence, as you mentioned, and at least it shows that there's like a plan in place. I'll be honest, though, this game gives me nightmares. I don't know what, I want to believe in the Jets. That was a great performance last week, but this is the second reference I made to Jekyll and Hyde, but it is truly a Jekyll and Hyde situation. Completely. One week they're competent, the next week, what are you? How are you playing football right now? What is this? Like, you're the laughingstock of the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm staying away from the pick and the spread on this one. I don't know what is happening, but I will grab a chunk of that tempting over-underline. 37.5 points is not a lot. These defenses aren't that good, and the over is pretty tempting as a trend. It is when these two teams meet, the overs hit in 5 of the last 6 games.
Yeah, the only thing that feeds me confidence in this game with the Jets is that they play well against bad teams, and it's hard to get much worse, any worse, in fact, than the Washington Redskins.
That's very true. All right, for our next game, this one is a good game. We have the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints favored by 6 over and under. The over and under. It's both of them. It's set at 51.
This game, this is Redemption Island written all over it for Drew Brees. He's coming in here angry. He's coming in here very upset. Sacked more last game than he ever has been his entire career. The Falcons, that was a one-off performance. I could see them doing all right from here on out. Every now and then. I picked them earlier on the show, but this has New Orleans written all over it. Tampa Bay is starting to come around. They're starting to slowly get there, but that defense is just brutal. It just leaves them out to dry game in and game out. And it's hard to kind of pick a team from there. And so in this game, I like New Orleans at a 6-point spread. I do not like that cover whatsoever. I'm avoiding that spread with every bit of me. I'm in love with the over.
Every bit of you?
Oh, every bit. But I love the over in this tilt. And, right now, just going through some numbers, the Bucs defense has given up an average of 33 points per game through their last 7 weeks. That is ridiculous. And
that's not good?
It is not good. And so it's hard not to like the Saints in this game, especially after the performance they put up. Drew Brees has shown that he's resilient in this league. That's why he's going to be a Hall of Famer, because when he puts up a stinker, he usually comes back with a huge day. So I think this will be it. I like New Orleans to win. Not paying any attention to that spread whatsoever, and the over all day long.
All right, Ryan. Saints they burned me too badly with my best bet and my survivor pick and
you're
everything.
Hurt. I can tell that you're hurt.
Drew Brees broke my heart.
Yeah,
I know you do a lot of good things. You're charitable, but you broke my heart, Drew. I'm in no way committing to them in this game. Spread, money line, whatever. At least you and I are on the same page on one thing, though.
I'm intrigued to see where you're going with this. Yeah.
I like the over.
Yeah.
I really like the over. I just don't trust the Saints to cover that spread. I don't even trust them on the money line.
So you're thinking about the Bucs?
I'm just going to stay away from it, but
okay, all right.
I've thrown out too many risky picks already this week. Right. I like, once again, the Buccaneers, they're really fun to watch. I love the over. That's what I'll go with here. It's hit in the last 5 games when these two teams meet, and it hasn't really been close. I continue to show love for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in daily fantasy. That has not let me down. I like the over reception prop bets for both those players. That hasn't let me down, and I'm really hoping the trend continues into next week.
Shockingly, the amount of times they move that ball around, the tight ends in Tampa Bay have been brutal this season.
O.J. Howard.
Howard's been out, but Brate has done nothing. So I love the prop that you're jumping on there with Godwin and Evans.
So there we go. I'm staying away from the Saints, but let's go with the over. What we have arrived to, Ryan, is the Sunday afternoon games.
There we go.
Baby. At least if you're living on the West Coast. To get East Coast, it's always afternoon games.
Yeah, I got the reference. Yeah, I got you.
For the first one, we have Arizona at San Francisco. San Francisco favored by 13.5 points. The over-under set at 45.5 points. And I didn't want to overhype last Monday's game. We discussed it off the top. I didn't want to overhype saying that Seattle and San Fran, potential for the game of the year. I underhyped that somehow. I didn't think that was possible. That was maybe one of the best regular season games we've seen in the last 5 years. Back and forth, great football. This game won't be that. It's still a divisional showdown. I just think that the 49ers are going to enter this game fuming because they had a chance to kind of really put a firm grasp on a division title shot. And now they've let Seattle right back into it. I think the 49ers come out of this game firing. Deebo Samuel was spectacular against the Seahawks. I liked him to continue his breakout campaign, especially if Emmanuel Sanders can't play next week. Look for the rookie to find the end zone. And I thought the over-under on this would be actually a lot higher. So I really like the over in this one, as long as the weather cooperates in San Fran. As for the spread, a little bit too rich for my blood. I'm going to leave that one alone.
That's fair. That is fair. Before we go any further, I called him out. I want to apologize to Booger McFarland there. I mean, he complimented Russell Wilson a few too many times in that game, but how can you be angry at a guy whose nickname is Booker? It's fantastic.
That's not his real name.
I think it's a nickname.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Tom, can we look this up here? But anyhow, let's jump back into this game here and stop talking about Monday Night Football.
Talk.
Yeah, exactly. No more Booger talk. Arizona and San Francisco here. It's hard to jump on one team or the other, given that 13.5 point spread. That is hefty, and I really don't love it. Arizona's offense is really starting to hit their stride. Christian Kirk with 3 touchdowns out of nowhere last week, who, by the way, I just so happened to drop right before that game in daily fantasy. That worked out pretty well. But nonetheless, Arizona's really starting to come around, and that San Francisco defense is actually really starting to come back down to earth. They've given up 52 points in the last 2 weeks here to the Cardinals and to the Seahawks, of course, most recently. So I see Arizona putting up another pretty strong matchup in this game. I see their offense coming out firing. I know they're on the road. I don't see that making a huge difference. So I do like San Francisco to win this game on the money. I do not like that spread whatsoever. I like Arizona to cover that, to upset. And as far as the over-under goes, I think it's a total obvious hit that would be an over. I mean,
right,
Arizona's offense looks fantastic. And Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, obviously they didn't win last week. And he had a couple 3-and-outs where he really should have put up a better performance, if I can say words. But no, I thought that when he was clicking, when that team was moving, they were on target all the time. And I like San Fran's offense too much to go on the under. So take the over, take Arizona to upset on the point spread, and take San Fran to win.
All right, head to WSN.com for expert online sportsbook reviews that let you compare all the best legal sports betting websites available in the United States. Ryan, what is next on our afternoon slate of games?
Cincinnati at Oakland. Oakland favored by 9 points. Your over-under set at 48 points. And this was my best bet of the week. The Oakland Raiders are one of the hottest teams in football right now. And as mentioned, the Thursday nighter last week, the Chargers had their opportunities. I mean, it wasn't all Oakland domination by any means, but nonetheless, this team just looks so good now that Derek Carr actually has some tools to work with. Last season, they looked absolutely god-awful. Derek Carr really hasn't looked that great for the last few seasons, mind you. But now that he has a tight end in Darren Waller, now that he has a running back in Josh Jacobs, and now that he's got some confident wide receivers out there as well, this offense is really starting to click, and I like the Oakland Raiders so much in this game to cover that spread, to win no problem. I'm not even worrying about the over-under in this game, but I mean, Oakland right now, they're really starting to chisel away in that AFC West lead the Chiefs are barely hanging on to after that loss to Tennessee. So I like Oakland to keep working. And I mean, just by watching Cincinnati in every single game, and especially last week because the clock's kind of reset with a new quarterback there with Finley, it's not going to make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Oakland to win, no problem. Cincinnati looks terrible.
It is a weird concept, right? Terrible. Yeah. A weird concept that, hey, we're going to give Derek Carr a few competent players and surround him, and all of a sudden, he's a decent quarterback.
Who'd have thought?
What a weird concept.
Who'd have thought?
It's just too bad they waited so long to make that happen. But the emerging star is Josh Jacobs, and that's who I really want to focus in on this week. 2 straight weeks, he has earned me some cash by finding the end zone, and I love him to make it a trio of touchdowns. Check these stats out. In 3 of his last 5 games, he has rushed for over 120 yards. Not bad. The Bengals defense is allowing a league worst 173 yards on the ground a game. I had to check a couple websites to make sure that was like legit. WSN.com, they got me the right stats. And I think this is just an ideal matchup for Jacobs. I'm hammering him on pretty much every single prop I can find. And like Ryan, I like the Raiders to cover this game.
Can we also throw out Oakland 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 games at home?
7?
Yeah, their final season at the Coliseum, they're giving a nice farewell.
All right, we got our final afternoon game. It is New England at Philadelphia. The current line in New England favored by 3.5 points. Over-under set at 46. Ryan, nothing is scarier for an Eagles fan than the thought of Bill Belichick having 2 weeks to prep for this game. Bill Belichick coming off a bye. That is a terrifying concept. I can only imagine what the future Hall of Fame coach has kind of drawn up for his team.
You think he'd be in the Hall of Fame?
Deflategate. Early glance at the numbers has me leaning towards the Pats on this one. I also like the over. When these two teams clash, the over has hit in 5 of the last 6 games. And you'll have to dig deep. WSN.com will definitely have all this for you. I would not be shocked if Belichick has something cooking up and with one of his lesser-known receivers or running backs that might result in a touchdown catch for those people. The odds will be great on it. And this is kind of something that he does where he has a couple weeks to work on something. And you know what? We're going to find Damian Harris or Jacoby Myers a touchdown. That would not surprise me in the least.
No, I think you're absolutely onto something there, my friend. New England lost 1 game, and the odds makers are running for the hills. They're not giving them any credit. Okay, let's make it a throwaway. Let's put it at 3.5. Come on now. This game has New England written all over it still. Like you say, coming off a bye, New England, the way they've been playing, barring that performance against the Ravens, it's the Ravens. They're red hot. They're one of the best teams, if not the best team in football right now. They take out New England.
Yeah, the Eagles are not the Ravens.
No, this is no reason to head for the hills, odds makers. Come back. Come on. The water's still warm in the pool here.
The jacuzzi's on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like New England to win. I like New England to cover. The Eagles have just been putting up so-so performances across the board. They might have 1 or 2 that are real standouts, but they have been very inconsistent. And Carson Wentz, as much as he's put up some numbers here and there, he's also been extremely inconsistent this season, and I don't trust them whatsoever against one of the best teams and the best defense in football, New England across the board.
Here we go. 2 more games left on the schedule. We have the Sunday nighter, Chicago at Los Angeles to pay a visit to the Rams. The Rams favored by 7.5 points. Over under, Ryan said, at 42. And I will be in attendance for this one at the LA Coliseum as the Rams look to bounce back after a bad loss to the Steelers. I warned everybody last week, and I still didn't really follow through with my own advice. Jared Goff is a very different quarterback away from the Cali coastline. And it showed in that Pittsburgh game. He was a mess. No offensive touchdowns. That's just unacceptable for both him and Todd Gurley. All of a sudden, they're in a battle to even make an NFC wildcard spot. It's looking a little grim for them. I think they entered this game fired up back at home. I'm always a little weary on the Bears side of things for a team that is an East Coast team traveling west and then having to play a primetime game. It just kind of messes with your internal clock. Chicago's run defense, too, could not be more different away from Soldier Field. At home, they allow 73 yards rushing a game. On the road, it's 118. That's a very big, explainable jump. And I think that's fantastic news for Todd Gurley fantasy owners. I don't really like the spread on this one, but there will be some great odds on a Goff receiver core to hold on a touchdown or 2. And I'm probably going to play Gurley in daily fantasy.
Yeah, no, we're going to agree a little bit in this one anyhow. The Rams looked absolutely terrible last week. We touched on earlier in the show. You just hit the nail on the head on multiple fronts. They were brutal. Jared Goff, the Twitter people were calling for his head all day long. TJ Watt almost took off his head a few times as well. So I don't see him recovering that much. Yeah, he looks a little bit better at home in the Coliseum, but not by that much. The good news for them is that they're playing the Chicago Bears, and they are the Chicago Bears. So no confidence whatsoever in this team. Yeah, they took advantage of a beaten and bruised Detroit Lions last week, but without Matty Stafford, it's a completely different club. So no, there's no confidence there whatsoever. And I'm with you on this one. I don't think should the LA Rams make the playoffs, somehow magically they secure that second wild card.
They use one of their 3 wishes.
Yeah, they might have to.
They found a genie.
Should it happen, it's not going to be Jared Goff's name in lights whatsoever. It's going to be Todd Gurley that's going to have to carry that team. So I like Gurley in a yards prop on this one. Take the Rams, avoid the spread, and think heavily about that under. It is quite intriguing. The total's gone under in 4 of the Rams' last 5 games.
I really want this to hit the over because I'm going and I want it to be exciting, but the under is
I mean it's not a huge one. It's 42, right? A 42-point over under is not massive, but these two teams are just very used to underwhelming. I think that's probably your safest bet in this game.
All right, final game of the week is the Monday nighter, Kansas City at the Los Angeles Chargers, and that is a Mexico City game. Kansas City currently favored by 4 points, the over-under at 49. Ryan, what is your breakdown of the final game of the week?
Well, you've known me for some time, Adam, and you know my thoughts on the veteran quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers.
One who has 14, 13, 12 kids?
It's up there.
Okay.
But Phillip Rivers just looks like a defeated quarter. It just looks like the game has passed him by. He is without a doubt the slowest quarterback in the league, and after going 0 for 8 with an interception in a 2-minute drill last week, all he had to do was get that team 40 yards downfield into field goal position, and we might be saying a different story right now, but it looks like the game is just slowly passing this guy by, and it's too bad too, because that run game's really starting to click. Melvin Gordon really starting to show that, hey, you know what, this guy actually might be worth a few extra dollars on the contract. Austin Eckler having a fantastic season. He looks like he's going to be great for years to come for that franchise. But yeah, Phillip Rivers is just... It's extremely disappointing. It is not good to see if you're a Chargers fan, or if you're just one of the people that happens to sit in the Chargers stadium in a different jersey, and that's most people. Thankfully for them, this game's in Mexico, and somehow it's a home game. The Chargers are at home, so maybe they'll have a couple extra fans in this game. Who knows? But that's not going to help them whatsoever. It's a 4-point spread. I know I took the very roundabout way of getting here, but Kansas City... no problem. They lost one last week, barely. Tennessee just edged them out. But no, it's not going to happen again. Kansas City is going to really have to secure that AFC West lead with the Raiders coming up so hot on their heels. I see Kansas taking this game, covering that spread, no problem.
All right, Ryan. I figured for the final game of the week, I would regale WSN.com listeners and viewers and yourself with a tale. Every year, I book an NFL trip in the fall with a handful of buddies. We go somewhere different every year. This year, we looked at the schedule, thought, you know what would be good? Los Angeles. There's a Rams-Bears game on the Sunday night. There is a Chiefs-Chargers game on the Monday night. Book flights, book hotel, go to buy tickets. Mexico City. I am taking NFL Deportes. Yeah. So I look like an idiot. I have my flights already booked, so I'll be watching the Chargers game from a pub in Los Angeles. So, yes,
not bad.
I am a dummy, but Ryan, you would not be dumb to take the Chiefs in this one, because I'm a huge believer in a bounce-back game. Pat Mahomes, he's back. He had another week to rest up that knee problem he had. And, yeah, I'm just a huge believer in bounce-back efforts from good teams. Good teams don't usually lose 2 in a row. And this line of only 4, I love it. I think I'm going all in on the Chiefs. I think that even if it is a neutral site game in Mexico City, it's a bit of a weird travel week. I really like them. Unfortunately for the Chargers and their fans, you just kind of have to deal with a very angry Chiefs team. I like Chiefs.
Yeah. You know, the good news for you, let's end it on a high note, is that if you do have to watch this game from a pub in Los Angeles, you probably won't have to call ahead and make a reservation, because I don't know if they think that they have 2 teams in Los Angeles. I think they know the Rams, and that's pretty much it.
I guarantee you, at least I found out ahead of time, I guarantee you there's going to be people who try to walk to the Charger Stadium on Monday.
Yeah, they might be.
Sir, this game is in Mexico City.
Yeah, and they'll all be in Chiefs jerseys.
Yeah. I bought tickets. All right, so all you got to do is head to WSN.com for a full breakdown of everything we've done, plus much, much more extensive odds and free picks for all major sports. Ryan, before we get out of here, let's recap our best bets of the week. What was yours?
Taking Oakland. The spread is 9 over Cincinnati. I took Baltimore over Cincinnati last week. That was an obvious pick. This seems to be another one, and then some. Oakland looks hot right now, and Cincinnati looks like they are destined for a top 3 pick.
All right, and I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, because they're red hot right now, and only being favored by 4 over the Houston Texans. I love it. I like Lamar Jackson to score. Let's get it done. Go Ravens, go. So for all our listeners living in New Jersey or West Virginia, all you got to do is go to WSN.com. That's them right there. For special bonuses and deals, if you want to bet on this week's games, you can compare the best legal online sports books and get exclusive offers when you sign up and start betting. Ryan, week number 11, the previews are in the book, and now we just got to wait for the games. Let's hope it lives up to the hype of week number 10. Thank you so much for joining us. Adam Forsyth, Ryan Sullivan, we will see you guys next week.